It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story Podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. I am so excited to have Victoria Lozano here joining me today. And Victoria, every time we talk, I was like, Lozano, I have to get it right.
You got it.
Did I get it?
Yes.
Victoria is a woman I admire enormously. She is the founder of 2 companies. Her newest company is Plan Forward Legal, a trust and estates law firm. She is also co-founder of Blue7 Content, which provides content and SEO services with her partner, Alan Watson.
Yes.
So, Victoria, there's only so many people I have spoken to that actually get the idea of running 2 businesses at the same time and still like standing.
Yeah.
What's your backstory here? How did that happen? How did that develop?
Yeah. So I guess I'll have to start a little bit starting with how Blue7 came into the world and then
Right.
kind of moving from there. The shorter story of it is Alan and I have been friends since like 3rd grade. That's like when we met. We grew up together. I literally used to bike to his house and he'd come to mine. We lived very close. And so, as friends do, your lives intertwine. And there were times, we went all the way up to college together and then we did our own thing. I went into academia teaching higher ed. He went into high school teaching. And then around, it was like 2017 or so, I think his parents got really ill. I was not feeling in a good place. I felt like I was being called to do more. And so it was kind of a point in my life, a juncture where it was either commit to a full PhD or something else. And I had to ask myself the question of, in 30 years, I'm sitting somewhere in a park. What may I have wished that I had done? And law school was a very prominent image that came to my mind. And so because I was in that transition era, I was doing freelance work. He was also doing freelance writing. And we just kind of started doing it together. And granted, he became a little more established in that area and kind of carried me along with him. And when I told him about law school, he was like, that's crazy because we were both writing for legal industry. And so he's like, I think that could be a really good intertwine.
So he encouraged you to jump forward with this.
Yes.
That's a good friend.
Yes, 100%. So I did, and I ended up moving my entire life from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to Chicago, which was very much a culture shock and shift.
I was just going to say that, wow, that's a different culture. That's a different neighborhood.
Yes. And everyone in my family was terrified because, Chicago does have a bit of a
girl hits the big city.
Yes.
There must be a book about that somewhere.
I'm sure. I moved to the city and I started law school at Chicago Kent. All the while, Alan was still getting a lot of work on his end through the legal industry and was asking me to do some writing as well. So when I first started law school, my mom then got really ill. She got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And
sorry to hear that.
It was a major blow. We didn't understand why it was happening. And it was just very quick. So it was a very quick decline. Thankfully, oddly, because it was happening also during COVID, I was able to be home. So law school was all online. I was able to be home, which also meant that Alan and I got to connect a lot more because we were in the same space. We were getting a lot of work. He's like, we could probably hire someone else on to help us with this work. And I was like, wow, could we do this? And he was like, we should just try. And then tragically, my mother died. And it was a very quick, swift, unexpected, because he knows me so well. He knew, obviously the death of anyone that you love puts you in a dark space.
Yes. It's not easy.
No, I had committed to my mother. She had asked me to keep going. So I still continued with my law school. And then a month after my mom died, Alan came over with some coffee and he was like, I made a website and we're going to launch it. I was like,
And by the way, Victoria, your name's on the site next to mine.
yeah, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm like now like going into my, second, third year of law school, right? And all of a sudden we have a website, we have a business. And he was very kind and sweet. He's like, I need you to just keep doing what you're doing, but when clients call, I need you. And I was like, done. Like that was a very doable exercise for me. So, and that's what we did. We landed this great little whale of a client and we just kept growing and growing. And then I graduated law school and had to do the bar exam. And that was its own journey. I'm actually a two-time bar taker. I will advocate so hard for those who didn't pass the first time. Just keep going. Yeah.
And I happen to agree with you on that. It's test taking is a skill set. Not,
Mm,
not to me, again, and I'm not saying I'm right, but I see test taking as very often a skill set. And yeah, I know I'm not a great test taker. Okay.
same.
I tend to get like tense and worked up before I sit down. So my reading comprehension goes a little askew based on
Yep.
nerves. And so the skill set is very often how you navigate the test, not what you know in answering the questions of the test.
Yes. And what's interesting about that was the first time I took the exam, granted, there were some other personal issues that were going on, but I was writing the exam as they were telling me to, not in my way, like not in a way that made sense to me. And the second time I took it, especially the essay portion, I wrote it like an SEO page. Like I wrote it like it was one of our pages with headers and short paragraphs and clear sentences. And once I applied those skills in that area, I mean, I now can teach in any, or excuse me, teach. I do teach, but now I can practice in any state. Like I have a high enough score too. So I really feel like those things really meshed well together in my success. And yeah, so that's Blue7 and we have just kept growing consistently. We've been in the, field for 5 years now. It was really helpful in providing me not only like a moment of peace when all the legal jargon was going on and I was really like in the law, in the bar, it gave me just this opportunity to take a mental break and focus on something else. But it was also my main source of income. And I
Which is not a bad thing during law school.
no. And I had myself in a position where when I left law school, I could choose where I wanted to work. I didn't have to jump into the first offer that was given. Many of my friends didn't have that choice. A lot of people in law school don't. They're in debt immediately and we just got to go for whatever's first there.
So
But I
let me ask you this: how did you navigate those decisions?
oh,
That's that's not, it's not easy. You have a responsibility of a business that's also supporting you at this point.
yeah.
You have graduated law school, you passed the bar, and you're making a decision on that first job. And
Mhm.
we always want to love that first job after that kind of commitment. And so there's a lot of weight on that decision, I have to say.
Yes. Well, I co-owned a business and a lot of people thought I was crazy for also wanting to do a full-time law job. And I had to have really tough conversations with my business partner about what my duties were going to look like. But it also put the pressure on us to create systems in place so that if either him or I had to step outside the business, it was still going to run. So it was about formulating a team of people that we trusted, clear expectations. So part of our business structure is we have guidelines in place that we train our writers. And we actually now are establishing guidelines to train our editors. So, with those guidelines, it's very clear to everyone what the expectation is. And because we're all somewhat on the same page, it's easy to kind of speak the same language to each other, to kind of like, I don't know, toot our own horn a little bit. Like it clearly works because a lot of our writers have been with us since the beginning. I
Yeah.
mean, our writers stay and we've had them. We now grew from a team of just Alan and I, we now have 23 on staff.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of them have really stuck around for 2 or 3 years now if it
So
weren't
how
for
do you
that.
take what works in Blue 7 and how are you taking those principles in growing your law firm?
Okay, yeah. So let's jump to that.
I'm just curious because
Yeah.
sometimes we learn so much and then I hate to say it, we almost forget to use it.
Yes.
I know I did. When I transitioned from Slater Graphics, my printing company, to building Slater Success, it was like I put my head in the toilet bowl. Like I didn't see how much I already knew about systems of implementation and take that forward. So
Yeah.
I hope you're smarter than me.
I think I'm learning from you, I think is what it is. And it's interesting because one, I wouldn't be able to jump into my own firm had I not already had the confidence of what I had started with Blue 7. I mean, there's that, right? Like any type of insecurity I have to stop myself. And my support system stops me and they're like, you've already done this. It's just doing it with another subject matter, essentially.
Yeah,
I got into estate planning eventually. I did do insurance defense
got
before,
it.
did not work well, and then got into a firm that was doing estate planning. I learned a lot about how to manage the business of a firm that way. So I learned business development through Blue 7, but also business development as a firm through that other job. I mean, and I think it all really does revolve around the death of my mother being so unexpected and having to then dive into estate issues and probate because nothing was created. So that's pretty much a driving force for why I do what I want to do. So plan forward legal. Like Alan always knew. He was like, I know you're going to do your own firm. And I was like, no, that's crazy. That's too much work, you know? But in Blue 7, we've interviewed so many different types of people, and the core value that we have is communication, transparency, and goals, like making
Right.
sure everyone's on the same page with the goals that we have. So now copy and paste
Very
that.
smart. And that's why the company is working.
Yeah. Copy and paste that into the law firm. Communication, transparency, you know, creating goals that are achievable, having your far target goals, you know, those big dream tickets, and then having those achievable goals. I mean, it is helpful that I have essentially like a marketing team at my
At your disposal.
yeah, you know, like that is also really
Get,
helpful.
getting some copy up for the website, getting some copy on some blogs. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is helpful, but it really is, I think, about finding your people, and that is difficult. But when you're very intentional about the relationships you want to build, or when you're intentional about the space you want to carve out for yourself, it takes time. It is uncomfortable sometimes,
Yeah.
and you sometimes feel like it's never going to happen. But it does. Like it really does manifest itself. And I'll say, like, for example, I had heard of like Wealth Council, which is a really big estate planning like software that people use.
Right. Yep.
And I was at the Chicago ABA Tech Show for Blue 7. And I'm just an attendee, talking to people, you know, seeing what the SEO looks like, what that software is out there. I've been to several conferences, and for some reason, this one, Wealth Council was there in a booth. And I'm just like,
Things happen for a reason, Victoria.
yeah, it was so crazy. And I was like trying to figure out like how do I set up like trust? Like how do I set up not for people but for a law firm? Because a law firm you have to have your own bank account, business account, trust account. It's an
Yes.
IOLTA here in Illinois. You have to house the money there before you're able to clear it to your own bank account. Like there's lots of these little tidbits that I
This
just
is,
didn't know.
yes, this systems and procedures in legal.
Exactly. And wouldn't you know it, there were two CLEs that were being held at that show, the tech show, that I was able to go to on tax planning for your law firm and how to set up the money part of your law firm. And I just was like, Oh my gosh. So it really just kind of fell into place, and you just got to get those contacts
I
and
think,
hold on to
true
them.
success is about consistently building your relationships, your database of people, not your
Yes.
database of information always, because although that helps and matters, but our highest value is in the people we're connected to.
Yes. And I
In thinking forward for our listeners, what tip would you leave for leaders who are running a business now that you run two, that they could be leaning into?
I think a couple things. One is rejection's a part of the game. People may not understand what your end goal is, and it doesn't matter that they don't understand it.
Right.
If they are helpful to you, if that's a relationship that can be helpful, strive for that. If they're already shutting the door on you, then that door's not for you. Just keep
I get
moving around. I remember we went to LMA for the first time, which is a legal marketing association conference that happens every year. And I believe it was in Miami. It was our first one. And this woman came up to our table and she literally asked us, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "Oh, I went into my whole pitch." And she was like, "You guys don't belong here."
ooh,
It took a toll on me. And like emotionally, I think we have to understand that emotions happen. I literally stepped out, cried by the beach for a little bit because it was such like an overwhelming moment. And I came back in, but the beauty was my entire team was there and they saw that interaction and they said, "Not only did you handle it gracefully, because I did, I just said thank you for your comments and then I moved on from the conversation, but it was such a profound moment where I could have chosen to either taken that feedback and been like, you know what, why are we here? This is dumb. Like dimmed my light, or accepted that this one person's opinion is not going to influence
it's
the
about
life
them,
that
not
we're
about me.
exactly. Yeah.
That's so often, and I remember it's amazing. We And I don't know if this is a women leader thing or if this is a people thing. So I'm gonna not sure about that.
Yeah.
We tend to remember all the negatives and we forget all the positives.
Yeah.
And I still, for myself, I'm going back to a memory in probably '07, '08, my early days of thinking about starting this company, getting certified, early days of starting it, when somebody said to me, "Who would ever hire you? What do you know?" And I remember it and sit with it to this day. But all the wonderful things people say about us, we're like, we say thank you, we smile, we say thank you, and then we move on, and we don't hold those memories as strong. Yet those beautiful memories, those beautiful moments should be held in a greater light than
Yes.
anything else.
Yeah. You've got to take your wins because they come very small at the start. They really do. I remember getting like our first little cards, that you hand out to people, business cards, and
Yeah,
just seeing my name glossed on that. Like that's a win,
it's a
knowing that
huge win.
it's a huge win. The same thing with Plan Forward. Like I really had to focus on because I think and I'll say it as women, we are so like we want to get things right. We want to do things correctly. We want to, that we tend to overshadow our wins because we're so focused on like the next thing. So I really had to train myself to celebrate more. When something good happens, take the pause to actually celebrate it and then move on to the next goal because it's just so important. Like you have to enjoy the journey as
You have
much
to
as you
enjoy the journey and honor yourself with it, I think. And
yeah.
and sometimes we forget.
Yeah.
We forget to pat ourselves on the back, give ourselves a hug, high five ourselves on what we're accomplishing.
Yeah. Cuz there's a lot of noise out there and the comparison bug is brutal, right? When you start to look around the room and you're like, who is me? Like everyone else is doing this or like this person's doing it way better. But once you put those little blinders on and you just do what you
Just do.
you're
I love it.
there.
Well, Victoria, thank you so much for joining me here today on Her Success Story. I am thrilled there's other women who are breaking ground, doing things that are not necessarily the norm, and not letting anything stop you for reaching your dreams and doing it your way. And I think you creating this path and sharing it forward with our listeners and everybody else, please, is an inspiration for what women can and will achieve.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad I'm here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Listeners, this is what I always say at this point of the show. Take a deep breath in. Think about the conversation. You joined Victoria and I. It was a fantastic conversation. But take one thing. What is your one takeaway or aha moment? Jot that down somewhere. It doesn't matter if it's your phone, your computer, a piece of paper, post-it note. It doesn't matter, whatever your method is. And look at it and make the decision of what is one thing you're going to do about it. Every decision we take, every little aha, when we take an action on, we are consistently moving forward. And that's how we make a difference every day in our lives. So thank you for joining me today on Her Success Story. And we will see you next week with more great guests like Victoria and wonderful content coming your way. Thanks for joining us.